Hey guys, Jeff with Maker's Niche here. Today I'm going to be working on an old model that I printed. It was a few years ago, first forte really into printing with different materials and different parts and reassembling afterwards. Prints are not that nice. This is really rough. I printed this for a friend of mine, but I'm going to fix it up and revisit it and make it look nice. So I used some kind of glue here. I'm not even sure what it was. I don't think it's CA glue. Pop that off. Get started to get these things primed up. Put a nice couple coats of primer on them. Okay, got a few coats of primer on here already. I can still see the details pretty well. I'm going to paint this head black so it gets down in all the little crevices. Use some rub and buff on top to get the metallic look. So let's get this handle taped off here and get some nice black on. Okay, black went on really good. All the details popped out still. Still see everything there. I think I'll go ahead and paint the handle before I start the rub and buff on the head. So I used a brownish red spray paint I had laying around here. Went on really good. It's a nice little base color there for me to build off of. Get this tape off and start on the head. So I'm using this Pewter Rub and Buff. This stuff is amazing. If you've not used it before, I always put gloves on because inevitably I'll get it somewhere on me, and it's a real pain to get off. But it gives really nice detail, and you can rub across the high points and really pop out details, which is what I want to go for here. I want the black undercoat to be down in the crevices and then just this on the surface. So I just fold a paper towel up here a couple times nice and flat and just work in the rub and buff material into the paper towel and then just go to town on rubbing it in. Still see a lot of layer lines. I'll come in the other direction and kind of fill those in, but I want to try to get the details to pop as best as possible. I really like how it worked on the ends here with that black base and then covering it up with this. Really makes the crevices pop out there. And this build is really just to revisit an old print and try to make it something new. I could just completely reprint all of these pieces and make it a new thing, but I really want to just focus on updating an old print with this and making it something that it just wasn't at the time. Yeah, and there it is. Got it on me. It happens. Again, if you've not worked with Rub and Buff, stuff's amazing. So with the base, I found this rock texture like spray paint in my garage. I'm not sure what I had it for, but it gives a really nice texture coat to what you're spraying on it. And so I used it on this. I like it as a base. It was real tacky, didn't dry very well. You can see where I smudged some of it off, but it's fine because I'm going to put some extra details on top of this, which I'm going to jump to right now. So I want to make this base be kind of woodsy, like the hammer's fallen into some dirt. So I'll have some moss on it. I'm going to use this spray glue. I bought this bottle at the dollar store. Really handy stuff. Just spray it on there and let it get a little tacky, and then you just sprinkle the moss flocking over top of it. I want to get some of the glue out of the crevice where I'm going to be recessing and re-gluing the hammer back in shortly. I don't want flocking stuck in there. Get it nice and tacky so it sticks, and then just go to town pouring it on. So after you're done with the pouring it on, you can work it in with your finger, and then once it dries, I generally just turn it to the side and tap it a few times to get all the loose bits to fall off. And then I'll come back over this with a spray again to really glue down all the loose pieces that are still on top, so it stays in there. And after that's dried, looks pretty nice. Nice texture to it. Doesn't look like a piece of plastic anymore, which was kind of the idea. The hammer looks really nice seated in there. So now we got to move over to the handle. So I want to show this trick that I use to make the tape not as sticky, because I've got the hammer head pretty much finished the way I want it, and I don't want to pull the tape off and pull some of the top coating off with it. So I remove some of the stickiness of the tape by sticking it on a paper towel here or my t-shirt. Either way, it's a trick I learned from Tested, Adam Savage on Tested. It helps a lot. There's nothing worse than pulling tape off and pulling your finished coat off with it. So I'm going to do a leather wrap. It's not a real leather wrap. I'm going to paint a leather wrap. And so I've got some acrylic colors here, going to mix in together. And got a brown, like a beigey, and a yellow, and this eggshell satin color. And I'm just going to paint around the printed wrap, the outline of the printed wrap that was there, to make it more substantial. Going to have to get a few coats on here to make it look nice and rich. So now I got the leather wrap painted on. I'm going to do some dry brushing here, and it's just this eggshell satin color by itself. And I just want to lightly brush, very little paint on my brush, but I just want to lightly hit the high points and the edges here. What you would normally see leather where it would wear at the edges, at the high points. You just want to catch those and kind of make it pop a little bit. Did a little bit too much. I darkened it down, and I mixed some of that tan in with the white to come back the other direction in dry brush. It's gotten a little light here. I'm going to hit with a black wash to kind of tone it back down. Usually I do the wash first, but I didn't anticipate needing it, so I'm going to get down in the crevices with this wash and then just wipe it right back off. You don't want to take all the wash off. You want it to stay down in the deep parts and just tone the lightness of the highlighting I put on there. Tone it down some. Get an aged look to it. As you can see, my tape come off without any of the head's paint or rub and buff damaged at all. So next thing to tackle here, one thing I didn't do was a strap. Everyone knows Thor has a strap he swings Mjolnir around in. Had this piece of leather lying around. It's a really nice grain piece of leather. It was a gun holster at one time. I think I'm just going to cut along the line and where it's already stitched so it'll stay together nicely. And kind of like the contours of it. So when it's hanging, it's not just going to hang straight. It'll be on a little bit of an angle. Be really careful. X-Acto knife with leather. Nearly cut myself a couple of times here, putting my fingers in the wrong spot trying to secure it. I know there's plenty of better ways to cut leather, but this is what I had on hand. I didn't feel like doing a whole nother build just to make a leather cutting tool. Really pleased with the way the strap hangs here, especially once it's on an angle. So I'm just going to take some CA glue and a couple drops in between the two end pieces and then clamp them together. So I know I've said through this video, I just want to update this print itself, but I just can't give it back to my friend this way. So I've printed out a 3D base I drew up real quick, and I think I'm going to incorporate that base into this previous base so that at least the whole first print is still there. So I'm going to cut the shape of the original base out, and then I'm going to give the new base a similar treatment with the moss flocking. So I've printed this out and hit it with some primer and some flat black paint. Again, it's not the greatest of print, but I'm going to hide a lot of this with the flocking, so it really doesn't matter. I'm going to find exactly where I want the final resting place of the hammer to be. Continue masking the edges off where I want it to stay black. Just the exposed area there is going to get the same stone spray paint and flocking treatment. And got the paint on there. It's really tacky stuff, so I decided on this one just to try to take it while it's still wet and use the tackiness of the paint along with the adhesion of the spray glue here to stick the flocking on. So now it's all dried up and can pull this off and reveal the final product. I thought I'd pick the base up here and give you a closer look at pulling the satisfaction of pulling the centerpiece out. So, in assembly here, I couldn't find my hot glue gun, so I had to use my daughter's, but purple's okay. Looking back, I should have used some CA instead of this. I just couldn't get it flat enough. So there is a separation between the base, the new base, and the old base, which is fine when you're looking at it. You can't tell too bad, but I'll zoom in here and show you the where the step is. Yeah, so you can see the shadow there. But I'm going to put some glue here in the middle where Mjolnir sits, and this build is done. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like and subscribe button. Be sure to turn notifications on so you can get alerts of our new videos as they're uploaded. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next one.